Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Titans of CNC, and I'm here with my boys right here. So we got Matt Schilling, he's my vice president. We got Dave Cox over there, he's in charge of branding and creative. Let's talk about personal branding. I guess that falls into your suit, right?
It does, absolutely.
Oh,
yeah.
man. So before we get started, if you haven't, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and put comments down below, because we will engage and we will answer a lot of those questions, all right? So you guys ready?
Let's do it.
So there's a lot of people out there trying to get jobs and doing different things, and I think I've seen some lately coming out of interviews and not getting that job, right? And saying it's because they're old or because, the shop, sucked or whatever it is, right? And I thought, you know what, how about we actually speak to it? Speak to it and actually give you some advice on how to interview, what personal branding means, and actually help you out a little bit.
And just like the industry that we're in, hiring and employers are changing, so we have to be able to adapt to that. And so we thought we'd come together, just share some honest thoughts with you guys about some things that we're seeing that might really help you as a potential employee, or to know how to speak the language of an employer that would help you have that upper hand when it comes to getting hired.
That's awesome. So we got the top 5 things that'll help you get a job and be successful in that. And number 1 is
social media.
Social media. Who knew, right?
Man,
let's speak a little bit.
Absolutely, yeah. So social media is huge, you guys. I mean, right or wrong, it's the world we live in, that all of your information, whatever you choose to put out there, is available for people to see. The person you date can check out your profile, right? Going for a job interview is basically like speed dating, right? So your employers are going to be checking out your profiles.
Before they even call you.
Right.
Before they even call you, they've already been on there.
Absolutely, yeah. And they're looking just for things that are going to tell them some tidbit about who you are, what to expect from you.
How you carry yourself.
Exactly, right? And so the people that we surround ourselves with have an influence on us. The way that we treat our social media profiles does have an impact potentially on our employability. So
how we complain.
Exactly,
how
right?
we dig on people.
So if I'm on there and I'm talking trash to all my friends and I'm doing all this stuff, it might be in fun, but it might not be seen as that. It might be taken as I'm somebody who thrives on drama, which I'm not. I don't want my employer to think that about me, so I better put out a better image of how I want to be perceived, right? And it's not about lying about who we are. It's just about being aware that everything we put out builds a story about who we are. And that is giving that employer something that they can look at and go, I'm going to interview this guy and get to know him, or I'm not, because I've seen enough. It's not right for our shop. I don't need that in my life. That's not where we want to be perceived, right? We want to be the guy that's like, oh, it looks like his posts are super positive. He's showing his work. There's some really cool stuff on there. He seems like a guy I'd want to hang out with.
Yeah, it's not even for the job you might want or you're interviewing for, because who knows when you might be looking. But it's for the job you have right now. So how do your employer right now might look at that profile, or your friends that you work with, and what does that say about you? The story that you tell is important for the future and how you're perceived.
Absolutely.
Exactly. One thing that I'll say is everything is about your workmanship, right? So the employer is looking at you to come in and be part of that person's team to help take them to accomplish goals and visions, right? And so they're going to look at your workmanship, they're going to look at your work, your resume, they're going to look at all these different things, but the way your social media page is actually set up is part of your workmanship, because you know that people are going to view it. So how you actually stylize it, what you actually put up there, is it positive or negative, as Dave was saying? It all matters, right? If they call you or don't call you, not so much on the resume and everything, but off your social media, and that's crazy, right? 10 years ago, that was not the case, but they're going to look at that, then they're going to look at the resume, and then they're going to make a judgment whether to call you. All right, so that's number 1. Let's go ahead and jump into number 2, which is
attitude.
Gotta have a good attitude, right? Let's speak a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. It's easy to get jaded in the situation that you're in, or how long you've been in this as an employee in this particular company. But it's important to have the right mentality and the right story to tell to your employee as you're sitting in that interview, to be able to share with them, like, this is maybe some challenges that I had, but this is how I faced it. So if you can come out with a positive attitude versus a negative or cynical attitude, that's gonna really show your employer how valuable you can be, and not just be negative all the time.
Right. Yeah. I mean, bad stuff happens, right? Like, we've all been in jobs where we had a terrible day, we had a terrible week, a month. Those things can get strung together, and we start to get this idea that we're in a bad situation, and that colors everything else that we do and how we approach things, right? We start coming to work expecting the worst, and what happens? We get the worst because we're already in a negative attitude. So when you come in thinking the best is possible, you're going to have a positive attitude, you're going to manifest those things, and really it also plays into work ethic, right? It's about figuring out ways that you can be more valuable to your current employer to get the promotion, or showing ways to a potential new employer that you were more valuable than what station you were at the last employer. Hey, when I had a cycle running, I went and I looked and I made sure my spot was tidy. I made sure I looked and saw if there was stuff I could go clean up, or grab a broom, right? I'm not above anything, I'm not below, whatever. Like, just show that you're going above and beyond. That brings a positive attitude, and it's actually infectious to the rest of the team.
Absolutely.
The other guys,
kind of like a servant's attitude.
Exactly, right? Other people who will see you doing that and they'll go, oh, wow, maybe I should be doing something like that, or I understand now why that person's moving up so quickly, because they're friggin' killing it every day.
Boom.
So
I think they kind of alluded to it, but one thing that I will say is that one of the biggest mistakes people do is they talk negative about prior jobs and prior employers. And that's something that you want to leave the past in the past, and you want to touch on the good things that you did at that shop. But basically, you want to come fresh to that employer. You want to come with a good attitude. You want to let them know that you're gonna come early. You're gonna leave late. You're there to be a pillar to help them with their vision, not your vision, but their vision for the company, and that you're gonna be there, right? And if you had negative situations, as we were talking about earlier, look at how, don't necessarily speak about how they were negative, but just say, at one point, this is how things were, and these are the improvements we put in place, and we saw a documented increase in productivity because of those improvements.
Exactly,
right?
yeah, just a change in the way that you speak about it, that vernacular of you're either going to say something like, my old boss was a jerk, he was an idiot, he had all these unrealistic expectations, and timelines were crazy, and nobody could thrive in that situation. That's why I'm here talking to you guys. Well, that doesn't sound very appealing to me as an employer, right? What sounds a little bit better is couching that and saying, at the last place, I had a lot of opportunities to work in very challenging situations. What that taught me is how to problem solve my own employment and figure out how I could be the best employee I can be in the face of things that sometimes didn't make a lot of sense. Yep. And I was still able to thrive, and that's why I'm here talking to you guys, because I want to bring that energy to your team.
Yep.
That sounds a heck of a lot better to a potential employer, right?
Yep.
And it's still true. It's all very true. It's just the way that we speak, the words that we use, makes a difference.
Yeah, and the more that you can illustrate what your attitude was like in that as an employee, that's going to better sell that idea, right? It's like, so if you have specific stories that you're telling versus like trying to come up with some idea that may or not be true,
right?
But really share a story and how you learn from it and how you coach someone else, how you really challenge the status quo to improve productivity, as you were saying. You have to be able to tell that story, and that's important. But it has to be real, a real life experience. Yeah.
I get excited when somebody comes in trying to get a job who has a great attitude, right? If they start talking about negative things about their past employer, I start thinking one day he or she might be searching for another job talking about me, and that's an automatic turn off, right? So great attitude. Be humble, be about the team, lifting everybody up, and then figuring out what the goals are and caring about the company and what their vision is, and having an attitude to come in to help them lift it all up to greatness, right? So attitude is number 2, and number 3 is professionalism.
Man, important, right? So professionalism is a big category that kind of encompasses everything that we are. And again, as we talk about personal branding, the way that you are perceived visually one of the first things people see, right? You're going to come walking from far in. Are you dressed right? Did you take care of your appearance? Are you coming in, from a really tiring weekend, whether you're partying or working hard on your property or fixing your car? Like, are you coming in as the best that you can be to start work, or are you coming in at 50%? If you're coming in at 50%, you're going to let the employer pay you 50%?
Oh.
No, they're still paying you 100%, and that's what they expect. They want you to be in that 80 to 120% range at all times so they can get value and see that value in the relationship. When you come and you've prepared for the day, you've shown up on time by being early, right? I'm 5 minutes early so I can check out my station, make sure everything's in place, and I'm ready to start work on the dot. Not I show up at 8 o'clock, I go check my emails, I figure a couple things out, I go grab coffee. I'm really in front of my machine working by like 8:45, 8:20, something like that. Well, that's robbing my employer from some valuable time we could be working, right?
Absolutely.
And it's not showing them that I'm necessarily there for their greatness. I'm showing them that I'm there for my convenience and my paycheck. That's not professional.
Absolutely. This shirt looks sharp. Huh? Look at this shirt. Oh man, look at this. Look at this. Got the polos over here. There's no mistakes here, right? This is professionalism. The way that we dress, the pants, the boots, how we're manicured. We have a certain brand, a certain look that we're putting off. Matt's the vice president, and he's like always talking to high level people and stuff, and he prefers a collar, but he's still got the logo, right? Where I'm always in the shop getting dirty and making it happen, and I like the t-shirts, and Dave does both, right? So, how you look, how you dress, how you present yourself. I don't think walking into an interview for a CNC machinist, I don't think you need to have a suit and tie, right? That throws me off when somebody comes in, because it automatically kind of takes me kind of out of my zone, right? But if they actually come in with some Carhartt, a collared shirt, and some nice pants, like work pants, but stylish, with some good boots, and just look clean and professional, I love that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Just a good look. This is how he takes care of himself. That's his workmanship. I looked at his social page. Boom, just positive with his family, just uplifting things. I looked at his resume. It's nice and professional. His or hers resume, nice and professional. Now they're coming in, they're dressed right, they're manicured right, they're looking straight into my eyes, and they're like giving me a good handshake and saying like, I'm pleased to meet you, and boom, and we're on, and before we've even said a word, I'm already loving this person, so.
Looking at a job interview specifically, like, know your resume, know your experience. Like, you can tell right away as an employer if someone's walking in, they're trying to BS you. Right. So know your experience and be able to speak to it, very specifically, profoundly. Like share stories, share experiences that have helped the employer, that have helped you, that have helped your teammates. Like have that, do that homework, right? So spend the time and look at your resume. Like just feed through it. Think about scenarios in which they're going to ask you questions. How are you going to respond to this? How are you going to respond to that? Because that's going to translate much better with that confidence and that sincerity, and it's going to allow your employer to see the real you.
Absolutely.
I just thought of a mini bonus one on here. We'll call it 3B, which is under professionalism, right? It's being prepared for what you're about to do, right? So it's not only knowing your own stuff backwards and forwards and what's on your resume and being able to defend it, it's also doing a little bit of research on who you're about to interview with.
The job.
Right? They're looking at you.
Absolutely.
You better look at them. You better read the job description, not just see that it says CNC machinist at the top and assume you know what's in there. Look at their specific needs. Look at their company. Find news articles. Look in the PR. Look and see what people are saying about them and what they might be going through. Understand who you're meeting with. What's their job level, right? Am I meeting with middle management, upper management? Am I meeting with a shop foreman? And then start to understand what their needs are. What's the big problem that person's probably trying to solve? So that when they come to the part of the interview where they say, do you have any questions for me? You can sit there and not be like what's your vacation time policy like? Because that's all about you,
How
right?
much am I getting paid?
How much am I getting paid? When can I start? Ask about their problems. What's the biggest thing you guys face in your shop? How's the morale? How are these things that I believe I've already exhibited I can help fix, right? so that they can have a better understanding of who you are.
Yeah, and pro tip, and ask the questions that you know the answers to. Exactly. Right? It's like a little hack. It's a cheat, right? But it's like you're trying to tell your story and you're trying to project your personal branding. So if you can ask a question that's going to allow you to speak confidently about a particular subject, that's going to translate well,
Absolutely.
right? So a little hack there, a little cheat. You're welcome.
Oh man! So one thing that I'll add, another one on top of that is, allow the person interviewing you to speak. Don't drown them out. This is probably one of the most important things, right? Because they have a job, they're hiring somebody for that job, so that they've listed things. They have things they want to talk about.
Yeah.
So be confident and ready to engage, but allow them to speak. And if they want to speak for 5 minutes, allow them to speak for 5 minutes, but as soon as you can see that politely you can come in and share in that conversation, then engage in a polite way,
Right.
but bring some value added to it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And be comfortable. Be, sit up straight, engage, but have a smile and be engaging and just be passionate.
Yeah. That's one thing I'll say about Titan is he shares his vision in interviews. And I've seen you do that many times, and there's an intent behind it. It's not just like he's throwing it out in the wilderness, but he does it in a way that allows the person to understand what exactly they're signing up for. And if they don't agree with that, or if they might want to poke holes in that, then they're allowed to do so.
Right.
But being able to hear someone's vision and expectation of what the job might be allows you to interject yourself on how you can help solve that problem,
Right.
or contribute to that vision.
Yeah, and I really do gauge how people come back on me, and I've been known to actually tell them, yeah, you're gonna work for me, but I just have fun with it. I have a good attitude, and Matt came and he's like, oh, let me go talk to my wife, and I'm like, you'll be back. This is destiny. We're gonna make it happen, and it's all good, right? But
I remember that.
But you gotta have fun. You gotta have fun with it, right? So that was number 3, and number 4, which we already talked a little bit about. So I'll let Matt jump right back in on that one. Is resume, professional workmanship, perfection.
That goes to a piece of paper. A piece of paper is one thing, but you hear Titan say over and over again, that's only part of the story, right? You need to be able to showcase what exactly you're able to do for that particular employee or that particular job. So if you have the ability to bring in parts and to walk them through how you approach this particular problem, solve the problem, use the different angles or whatever, and how you programmed it, that's going to translate much better than just talking about theoretical ideas.
Yep.
So a piece of paper that's professional, that's really well formatted, but also a story to tell in the physical manner, whether that's a part or something else.
Yeah, and one thing I've noticed about this industry is it's really about attention to detail and precision, right? So somebody who's looking at you, no matter what area you're in, right? If you're in CAD, CAM, or CNC, or some other management job, we deal in this industry of precision. And when you set your resume up, being okay with, there's a couple typos. Sorry about that. Hey, I know there's a couple typos on this. I'm not great at spelling. Well, that's something you need to improve, right? You need to either improve that about yourself or understand where your failings are and have somebody else help you with it. Because sending a resume to me or any of us that has typos in it, that has some glaring mistakes, that kind of stuff, that shows that you don't even take yourself seriously enough to put care and effort into this, right? So how are you going to bring yourself to the job that I have for you?
Yeah.
That's going to be tough.
Yeah. And that's your differentiator for you as a potential employee. Are the other people that are hiring for that position going to have that same level of care,
right? And
go through that much detail in order to share their story. So that's something that can really separate you from the competition.
Yeah.
That's, for me, the resume, like college and everything, it means a lot. I want to see it professional. I want to make sure that there's no typos, that I want to see what they did and stuff, but I really bounce off of that resume to engage them and ask them questions about it. I want to see how much time they put into certain projects and what kind of successes they've had and stuff. But I also love if I'm hiring for a CNC machinist, I love when they bring me parts or they talk to me, or even like, take a water bottle, and talk about like how, I was machining titanium, and I held it over here in a quick grip collar chuck, and we were having problems with this, and this is how I solved the problem. And then we faced it, and we got rid of certain passes, and we actually improved the process. And when somebody can actually talk to me and engage me and tell me about specific tools, not going on and on, but like talk about specific problem solving techniques, like that impresses me.
Absolutely.
When they show me something and they're like, oh, this is a 16 finish I got off the machine, and this is the type of insert I used, and these are the service foot and the chip load and the inches per rev, that is impressive, right? So you can bring in a great resume, but if you have an opportunity to bring in a part, don't bring it in all scratched up, like polish it up, spit shine it, make it perfect, right? But speak to it and let people know, like, most of the machining that I've done is under NDAs, and I can't show them to you, but here's the cool part, and these are the things that I did, and do the same thing when it comes to if you were leading a crew or other personnel or something. Bring in the data or talk about the data that supports the problems that you solved.
Exactly.
Because it's just great. And how you speak to that employer, they're going to envision you speaking to their employees, and they're going to judge whether you're as good as they are or you're as good as somebody else is, and if they have confidence in you controlling that floor or that situation and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, one of the biggest problems that I've always seen with resumes in general, right, whether it's a paper resume or the thing you're bringing in or any of that kind of stuff, is we only update our resumes, we only think about our resumes when we're unhappy or it's time to make a move, right? We're trying to get another step up in the same company, we're trying to leave the company. That's when we start going, oh, I better update my resume. Well, if I've been at that company for 2 years, 5 years, 15, 25 years, how the heck am I going to be able to remember all of the problems that I've solved along the way to do this? So another pro tip is start writing down your wins, right? When you solve a problem, when the boss comes to you and he's like, hey, we need this thing, we need it run shorter, run quicker, run faster, whatever it is, or I need you to hold this, we don't know how to hold it, like, write down what that problem was that you solved, keep a notebook of that, and when you go to an interview, when you're interviewing for the next step up in your company, or you're trying to jump companies somewhere else, bring that notebook with you. Because when that interviewer asks you, tell me about a time when you solved somebody's problem, because that's what our industry is about, you can go, I can tell you about one time if you want. I pull out my notebook and we can look through any of them, because I got 500 in here, right? Boom. That's going to be really impressive, and they're going to go, oh, wow. And that's for programmers, designers, machinists, management. You guys have to deal with a lot of problem solving between people, between scheduling, all that kind of stuff. So it's all important.
And those wins, Dave has said before, like, celebrate all the wins, right? That's one thing that I've done early in my career, and I continue to do, and now we do on social media, is when we win, when we actually do something that's great, you share it with people, right? Is that being cocky? No, that's sharing what your problem-solving techniques with others. When I was programming and I was just on a machine making it happen, like, I loved when the boss or the employer came through, because I'd be like, hey, these are the problems that we solved. This is the money that we're saving. And even if it was just a 2-minute conversation, the more that they came through, the more that I told them. When it came time to give out money or do something, I was on their head. I was at the top of their heads, right?
Absolutely.
So, cool. So resume is number 4, and number 5 is value added. So I'll start with this one, right? Like, if I have a team, I've hired specific people for certain jobs, right? And I'm managing the team, and I'm looking, and together they make one cohesive team that can do all things, right? And something that I love is to see, like, when you have one person that actually finishes their job, right? Where they actually come across the lanes to actually help lift other people up and take on other responsibilities, because it is one whole team and one vision, right? So when you got somebody that comes in and they're just a CNC machinist, but then they step over and they start helping to inspect other people's parts in process, I love that. When they pick up a broom, when they help with shipping because we're backed up, and they don't say like, oh, that's not my job title, right? But they're just an all-around person, right? I think that it's important that we all say like, we'll pick up a broom, we'll help in shipping, we'll help get material off the truck, we'll do whatever it takes because we're one big team, right? Value added, being a well-rounded employee is extremely important.
It also shows your level of commitment as an employee. So as an employer, to your point, you want somebody that is committed, that's going to be willing to spend the time, invest the added resources, whatever that might look like, to showcase that they are in it to win it, to help you win or be successful as an employer, right? So I think, as you always say, that's such a valuable part of having an employee, is someone that is committed, that showcases that on a daily and weekly basis.
Yeah. As a CEO, I want to see people that are about the vision of the company and lifting the company up, and not just so self-serving, right? They're about like, I have an arm and I can pick this up and I can help out in this way, so I'm just going to do it. I don't have to be told. They don't have to ask me. And
yeah, I mean, absolutely. It speaks to where an individual's focus is, right? So if my focus is always on me, what's best for Dave, what's best for me in this moment, am I being lazy right now? I hit my button, I did my program, I finished my work, I'm just gonna hang out. That's pretty apparent to people, right? It's pretty apparent not only to the bosses, it's apparent to everybody else around you. And what happens is, when an underperformer is allowed to underperform, it drags the rest of the team down, because they look at that as an example and they say, if Dave can get away with throwing 80% of his effort into today, I'm going to throw 80% of my effort into today since nobody's looking, no big deal. And then the next person down the road is going to, well, they're doing 80%, let me see if I can get away with 75. But what happens instead is, if you're somebody who has the focus on the rest of the team and knows you have a shared vision and that you're working towards these goals, might be end of the year bonus or some kind of performance bonus, you're going to start to look at that and go, I'm not going to go for 80%, I'm not going to go for 100%. I'm going to show these guys what 110 looks like. And they're all going to start to raise their game, right? They're going to go, oh wow, why is Dave working so hard? I better step my game up a little bit, right? Yeah, so when we're talking about added value, then just make sure that you are not necessarily the center of your world all the time, right? When we're in a relationship, that center of the world has to be the other person. When we're in a relationship with our business, then they get to take precedence over what we specifically want, because it affects everybody.
Absolutely. And always just look at the vision of the company and do absolutely what you can to help the company get to that vision. Be that pillar. All right, so that is 5, but we're going to throw in a bonus right here.
Boom.
Boom. We're going to throw in a bonus. It's going to be number 6, and it's extremely important, and that would be confidence. Have confidence. It's one of the most important aspects of an employee coming in for a job, right?
Absolutely.
Because as an employer, I want to make sure that this person has the confidence to carry out that job. You want to?
Yeah, absolutely. And you can do that in a lot of different ways, right? You can speak directly to the skill set that you have for this particular job, as you've explained, or you can share different stories of how, and illustrate your confidence and competence even on how you've particularly solved problems in your job right now. That's something you do really well, just speaking to the customers that you have, but also the problems you've solved for them. By sharing the stories and sharing the problems that you've solved, you're illustrating your confidence and capabilities. And I think that's such an invaluable asset to an employer.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, I mean, confidence, it's has to be peppered with humility, right? So I walk in confident to a place does not mean that I come in cocky, I'm going to solve all their problems, I'm God's greatest gift to everything. It's, I am confident in what I bring to the table. I know that I have value, and I'm going to try my best to show you my value in this interview scenario. And what happens for a lot of us is we err on the humility side so much, and we've had some negative influences in our lives that we don't think very much of ourselves. we start to think that everything we do is wrong, right? When we've been tore down here and there, a couple days in a row, a couple weeks in a row, we start to think that I go into my day going, I'm not going to do anything great today because everything I do seems to get screwed up. You got to get that mentality out of your head. You got to start focusing on what you have done right. Focus on what you bring to the table and be confident about the positive aspects you bring to the job. And be aware of what some of your misgivings are, right? Where do you fail? Where do you need a little bit of extra help? And just be aware of that so it doesn't blindside you, it doesn't blindside the employer. You don't have to bring that out in an interview necessarily, but you have to be confident about what you're great at, understand what you maybe need to improve on, and then make sure that you are fitting with what that employer is looking for.
Absolutely. And I'll just say, like, if I'm talking to somebody, I'm like, yeah, you know, I think I can do this, or yeah, you know, and I'm just kind of wishy-washy. Like, that never comes across. If I'm actually going to talk to an employer, I'm going to come in, I'm going to give them a good handshake, I'm going to look them straight in the eye, I'm going to be like, I'm going to be here early, I'm going to leave late, just like I said before, I'm going to do this job, I'll do that, I'll ask questions, you know, I'll make sure I take notes, and I'll have confidence in myself. If we're going after, you know, certain projects or certain visions and stuff, we're going to speak about the visions in a way that it sounds like it's attainable, right? That we're actually going to accomplish this. And it's not like, you know, if this ever happens, it's like when this happens, this is going to be great for the company. When we achieve this goal, this is going to be great for the personnel and for the team. And when we get to this point, this is going to be awesome, right? So we're looking at the stairs. We're looking at the stairs and we're calling them out, understanding that there's a process to actually achieving it, but we're willing to go through what's needed to make it happen, and that it is going to happen. Right? So, all right, man. So this actually went longer than expected. I guess we'll just cap it right here, and we gave you some good information, right? So have a lot of confidence, have good and humble confidence, have make sure that your social media is like cleaned up, and that you're proud when people look, whether it be your father-in-law, your mother-in-law, your employer, you're proud of what you put on there, because that reflects you as a person, right? Your attitude, you have a great attitude. People love being around you. It's contagious, right? You're all about positive, not the negative, right? And you have a great clean resume. The resume has to be dialed, bring in different parts, show them your workmanship in a way that they can see it. Right? Your workmanship, it's your art that you brought to the table, and they're going to give you money for it, right? And then we have professionalism, how you're dressed, how you're manicured, you know, how you actually come in, your workmanship, just everything about you and how you relate to people, relate to the job, and make it happen on a daily basis. Next, we have value added. Go above and beyond the call to be about the vision, to be a pillar for that company. And if you do these things and add in your own, you will be successful. You will not only be successful, but you'll help that company be successful. And if you don't get the job, then don't worry about it, right? Because the right job will come where you will fit in perfectly.
Exactly.
All right? Boom. And that's personal branding.
That's right.
Thank you guys, man.
You bet.
Oh, that's a lot of good information. You know, it'd be really awesome to even take it to another level. Why don't you guys get involved? Go ahead and go down in the comments. And if you have advice for other machinists, other business leaders, if you have thoughts, anything, go ahead and put it down there. And let's just make a trail of greatness so that we can just lift everybody up. All right? So go ahead and make your comments, and we'll be responding, and like, boom, let's get it done.
Yeah.
All right, guys, have a great week. Boom.